Good morning, Whisper Nation. Good evening or good night, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm your boy, Johnny Game Time Hicks. This is the Fantasy Whispers, and it's Tuesday. So that means we're talking waiver wire for week 17. That's right, the championship weekend. Championship week is upon us. It is upon us. It is here. And so we need to talk about those guys that you can pick up right now to win you that championship or block your opponent from winning that championship. We're going to talk all that. We're going to talk some news and more. So make sure you're tuning in, Whisper Nation, hitting that subscribe on your way in, hitting that like, trying to get this video to 50 likes. Let's go.
Right here.
That's right, Whisper Nation. You know what time it is. It's Tuesday. I know a lot of people are out. I get it. You know, I'm out of most leagues. I'm in a couple. Well, one, realistically. I'm still in one. If you're still in your fantasy football playoffs, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Say what's good. If you're new to our channel, tuning in for the first time, you want to ask the little questions, hit us up in the chat. Hit us up with a subscribe. You won't. If you want all the best fantasy football content, right there, boom, hit subscribe. If you want all that best fantasy football content, which we release fantasy football content daily on this channel, hit that subscribe. If you like a community where you can feel like you belong, you want to talk fantasy football, hit that subscribe. You won't. You can also check out some of our other content. If you aren't so sold on this episode, check out our other content. Help you win that championship. Have a great time with the fantasy football community. All right, let's get into a little bit of news and notes first before we get into these waiver wire. As always, we like to talk about players on the show that are less than 50% rostered. There were a couple of players that will be over that threshold. 50% roster on sleeper is what we usually go by. There will be a couple of guys we talk about. I just want to throw their names out there just in case you could look, see if they're available. If they are, they would become higher waiver wire priority for you this week. If you have some questions on who you might want to drop, let me know in the comments as well. I can help you out with that. But before we get into all of those, that's the exciting stuff. We've got to go over the bad news and, well, not all bad news. Some of it's okay, but want to talk about it, open up with the show about it. We have Allen Robinson said he lost 10 pounds during COVID. Listen, we lost 10 pounds watching you play this year because of all the stress, man. That was one of the bigger busts of the year. Allen Robinson, what a shame. We also have the Jags are retaining general manager Trent Baalke. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know how he's able to keep his job, but they're reporting that even though he put together one of the worst rosters of any team this year, they're saying that the owner still, Shad Khan, still wants to see what Baalke can do. Sounds like a terrible decision to me, but we'll see. Baker Mayfield, they're reporting that, or the Browns, I should say, not Baker Mayfield. The Browns are reporting that they're likely to bring in competition for Baker Mayfield in 2022. Who that is, what that means, we don't know, but we'll see what their idea of competition for Baker is. Not a surprise when he throws 4 interceptions there, but again, and it could, Baker. I mean, realistically, I'm surprised they didn't do this before because Baker, if you look at his past, he performs better when he has a little bit of competition around him. When he feels like, hey, I'm being slighted, I need to prove something, then he ends up stepping up usually. He has kind of that game time gene, if you know what I mean. All right, moving on. This is probably one of the bigger news of the day, and we'll get into this as we talk about quarterbacks that you could potentially pick up or who you should be. But we do know that Jimmy Garoppolo suffered a finger injury. He's got some torn ligament or broken finger. So there is a lot of potential right now and a lot of rumors that Trey Lance will actually get the start this weekend in week 17. We don't know how long Jimmy G is going to be out. He's getting further tests done. Could be a while. So Trey Lance is going to be a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit, but he is a guy that you're going to want to potentially look at to pick up or at least pick him up to keep him away from your opponent. We'll touch on last night's game in just a second. If you did not tune in to our live stream last night, had a lot of fun watching that New Orleans and Miami game, even though it wasn't the best game ever. We had a good time streaming it and following along with Whispernation, hanging out with you guys. Appreciate all of you guys jumping in here. We got Z, Stro tonight, do it 420. What's up? What's up, my guys? Whispernation coming in. Cam Akers, we all knew that he was back. They are reporting that speaking Monday, Coach Sean McVay said there is a quote-unquote good possibility Cam Akers plays Week 17 against the Ravens. Again, does this mean I'm going out and trying to get him to play him? No, because I don't think he's going to get a big workload. I would imagine he might get 8 carries. We'll see what he does. Again, I was talking about Austin last night in the stream. Listen, he just came off this Achilles injury 7 months ago. It wasn't that long ago. Do I have confidence that he's going to be returning? This is a significant injury. Do I think he's going to all of a sudden be able to be plugged and played? I don't. That's my honest opinion. If you feel otherwise, then pick him up. You won't. But I honestly don't think he's going to be a relevant fantasy player for you this year. I think it's too risky. I do want to see what he does because, like I said last night, let's say he has 20 touches from now until the end of the season, maybe 30. Talk about all season, right? Playoffs too. If he can show me 3 to 4 good bursts out of all those runs, I'll be happy and looking forward to him next year. But again, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to play him or stash him. I just don't think it's worth it. So torn UCL and fractured bone in his right throwing thumb for Jimmy G. So we got to monitor that. Again, I don't expect him to play. Pretty solid matchup this week. So I do think Trey Lance is going to be someone you're going to want to pick up and play. Waller, they're hoping that he practices and plays. We'll see. Keep that monitor. Austin Eckler being activated off the COVID reserve list. That's great news if you have Austin Eckler and survived last week. Great news if you have him. And then just a couple of touch-up pieces. David Johnson put on reserve COVID list again by Houston. Titans place Julio Jones on the COVID list and Mike Evans on the COVID list. So those are all names to monitor, as well as Browns have activated Kareem Hunt off the reserve COVID list. So he could potentially see an uptick in carries this weekend. And then you've also got the CEH news, which is better than expected. Did not suffer any structural damage to his collarbone and should return shortly. However, this means that Damian, which we'll talk in just a second, needs to be picked up and talked about. He is over 50% rostered, but we'll talk about it in just a second. CEH not expected to play next week, so you're going to make sure to get him out of your lineups and potentially be able to go and pick up Darrell or play Darrell if you have Darrell. All right, that is the news and notes. I want to touch on last night's game real quick. Waddle. That dude is just blowing up. 92 yards, touchdown, 10 out of 12 targets. Had a monster game. Your boys had him as the MVP last night in our DFS lineup for FanDuel. Make sure you're signed up for FanDuel if you want to create a bet slip with us, create a lineup, cheer with us, root for us on the live streams. We're going to continue doing those even throughout the playoffs. Yeah, the NFL playoffs will continue to come out with some streams of the games to hang out with you, Whispernation. We love hanging out with you, watching the games, calling them. It's fun. It's another reason to hit subscribe, not leave the channel right now. I understand fantasy football might be ending, but we're not. We're keeping it going all season long. Keeping that feeling going all season long. Tua coming in again. Not the sexiest game. 19 for 26 passes, 198 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception for Tua. But again, continues to be on that winning streak, continues to be efficient and get the job done. So like what he did last night, Ian Book, man, I don't know if this guy ever wants to play football again, to be honest with you. Feel bad for him. 12 of 20 passes, 135 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and was just basically on the turf all night long because he was just sacked left and right last night. Feel bad for the guy. All right, that does it for the news and notes. Catching you up on the Thursday night stream Monday night stream again. Again, there's no Thursday night game this week, so make sure you're adjusting your schedule accordingly. We'll try to figure out some kind of content to come out on Thursday. But again, we are looking forward to streaming some of these playoff matchups, and some of these other matchups over the next couple of weeks to call the games, to have fun, create DFS lineups. So make sure you're subscribing and make sure you hit that thumbs up. We're trying to get to 50 likes. Almost said 20 likes. We're trying to get to 50 likes on this video. So help us out. Help Game Time out. Help the Fantasy Whispers out. Really helps our channel. Get out to other people. Helps grow Whispernation. All right, let's dive into these running backs now. You've waited long. Appreciate you tuning in so far, hanging with me. All right, I'm going to get this up here. We're going to add this to the stream. Go solo here on the waiver wire ads for the running back position. Just give you a flash up. Again, I know that we talked about 50% rosterability on Sleeper. I just want to throw out Darrell again. He would be my number one waiver wire pickup if he is available. So just check 67% of leagues he's rostered in on Sleeper. So hopefully in that 33%, it's one of your leagues. So you can pick him up because he is a plug and play RB2 for you this upcoming week, especially with CEH out. Next on this list, Daryl Ogunbowale coming in for the Jacksonville Jaguars, roster on just 0%. Just 0%. He is fully available. I guarantee on your waiver wire. So you can pick up Daryl Ogunbowale if you need a what the heck start this week, because you're in dire needs for running back, because James Robinson out for the remainder of the season. Sad news. Tore his Achilles. Rooting for the guy. Really hope all is well with him. He can recover. Maybe like the Cam Akers. We'll see how that potentially goes. But Daryl Ogunbowale was inserted into the Jags starting lineup once running back James Robinson went down. He played 83% of the snaps in week 16. Got 19 total touches for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. So they'll give him the rock. They'll get the volume. Obviously not the best offensive team to be on. But again, if you're in dire needs, you made it this far, you need a plug and play. I think Dyer is one guy that you can go. He has a decent matchup against the Patriots, which seems like a difficult defense, right? But where you attack New England is on the ground. So I do expect him to get a solid amount of work this weekend. Next up on this list, as you know, you've seen him before. I've got both Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. So Jordan Howard, 25%, Boston Scott, 33%. This is a situation that we don't know fully who's going to get the workload as of right now. We do know Miles Sanders left week 16 with a hand injury. He will be out. It's a fractured hand. Boston Scott led this backfield and with Miles Sanders' absence with 12 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Howard was more involved in this game, but he also did end up coming out of this game with a stinger. So you just need to monitor that. If Jordan Howard ends up suiting up, I think he's a fine play, especially in like a standard league. He'll get a decent amount of volume that they'll run with, but Boston Scott is probably going to be that better bet for you this week, because Boston Scott is one that both he gets receptions, he can get carries, he's elusive as a running back, and they get Washington this week. That is a great matchup, for the Philadelphia Eagles, I should say. It's not a great matchup for running backs, but again, he should get the volume. That offense can move the ball. They like to run. So again, I do think that Boston Scott or Jordan Howard, one of those two guys, is worth the stash. Right now, I'm leaning more Boston Scott just because of the Jordan Howard injury or stinger. We're not really sure where he's at right now. All right, next up on this list, I know you've been excited. Someone asked me about this over the weekend. I felt really bad because they asked about Rex Burkhead, Sexy Rexy, this past weekend, and I didn't like it. I was like, he's gotten volume before, but it's not really translating anything. Well, this past weekend, he got 22 carries for 149 yards against the Chargers. Again, this is a guy, deep stash. Am I necessarily going out and getting him or wanting to start him? No, it's nasty. It's a plug and play, hold your nose. But again, if you're that desperate, only roster on 13% of sleeper leagues. So he is available. Do I trust that volume and workload again next week? Not necessarily. It's on the Houston as well. The game script really went in their favor. So I don't see that happening again. So I don't feel super confident in the Rex Burkhead play. But again, sometimes you're in a super deep league and Sexy Rexy might be the only one available on this list. So pick him up. You won't. Well, actually, I know that Daryl Ogunbowale would actually be on your. I would rather have Dyer, honestly. That sounds weird too, but I would rather have him. Last on this list, real quick before we move on to the wide receivers, running back help if you need it. Jarrett Patterson for Washington, roster on just 5% of sleeper leagues. J.D. McKissick is on IR. Patterson is the direct handcuff to Antonio Gibson. Gibson right now is dealing with a plethora of injuries, as we know. He did look a little banged up in this game. We do know how bad Washington looked, so it's not, again, a great pickup. But again, if anything, Gibson is ruled out in this game for this weekend. Patterson would see a big uptick in workload there as the 1 and 2 workload back. You have Jonathan Williams also getting some check down work and third down scat back work there. Not really looking his way. Again, I would look more Jarrett Patterson's way. All right, that does it for the running backs for waiver wire week 17 pickups. Now we're going to move over into the wide receivers here that you could pick up. These ones you might be a little bit more interested in, being that, wide receivers, a little bit easier to plug and play here. First on this list, Isaiah McKenzie, Buffalo, roster on just 0% of sleeper league, so he is available in every single league. He is a guy that you are going to pick up as a potential play. Do I absolutely love him this week? I like him as a sneaky start, especially because Cole Beasley should still be out next week because he is still on that COVID list. Gabriel Davis as well should potentially still be on that list because he's not vaccinated either. We know it needs to be a 10-day absence. With the absence of Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis in this offense for the Bills, Isaiah McKenzie manned the slot, and he saw 12 targets, 11 catches for 125 yards, and ran a route on 87% of Josh Allen's dropbacks. So he has a very nice matchup, very juicy matchup against Atlanta next week. So he's in a wide receiver 3 for me this upcoming week. I think he should be on that kind of radar for you. That's Isaiah McKenzie. Now on to the other wide receiver, one that I might like slightly more. I have a little bit more confidence. That would be Allen Lazard for the Green Bay Packers. Roster on 17% of sleeper leagues. Without MVS in the lineup, you continue to see Allen Lazard emerge. Lazard ran a route on 94% of Aaron Rodgers' dropbacks, and he operated as the clear number 2, which a lot of us suspected coming in, but you had MVS showing his flashes, getting some playing time, getting those deep targets, which we like from Aaron Rodgers. But again, if MVS isn't activated, or even if he is, I still think Allen Lazard has done enough, and he continues to show that he is the wide receiver 2 there in Green Bay. So I think he is a fine plug and play this next week. Next up on this list, another guy, again, he is over 50% rostered somehow. I told you to drop him that you could drop him a few weeks ago. I still stand by that statement, but he now becomes another player that we could potentially look at if he is available. Again, he is rostered on 65%. That's Katerius Tony for the New York Giants wide receiver. He's been very banged up. That quarterback situation is not good. It's not sexy at all. And it's a, plug your nose kind of start again. But the one thing I do like about Tony, and we've seen his upside before when he was, the only game in town, and then very similar last night or this past weekend. Tony was hyper targeted when he was on the field. He returned from that 4-game absence from being dinged up, and he saw 9 targets. He saw the type of target and workload when just running on. Whoops, sorry. Switch this out here. He saw this type of workload on just 28 of his routes ran. So when he was in, he was hyper efficient. They like to go to him. So what is that? What that means is that he was targeted on 32% of his routes when he was in. That's a great number to look at when you're, trying to find little gems. Not again, there's a lot of risk in it. So if you're playing Katerius Tony this week, make sure you balance it out on the rest of your roster. But you could do a lot worse than Katerius Tony, who's going up against Chicago in Week 17. We know that secondary is very susceptible, especially to bigger plays. So I do think that Katerius Tony could be a potential play this week, could be in a blow-up spot for him. Last wide receiver on this list before we move on to quarterbacks would be Josh Palmer for the LA Chargers, roster on just 9% of sleeper leagues. Josh Palmer, here's what I like. Mike Williams, he can't return from the COVID list by the Chargers next game, if he can't. Obviously, if Mike Williams comes back off that list, then Josh Palmer will probably be relegated back to that, third pass catcher. But I just wanted to note that without Mike Williams in the lineup, the rookie, Josh Palmer, who's looked good before, in his limited time, when he got this opportunity, he led the squad in routes ran in Week 16, and he caught 5 of 6 passes for 46 yards and a touchdown. We've seen the connection between Herbert before and Josh Palmer, so I do think that he is going to be a plug-and-play wide receiver for you, and I think it's probably a better stream. I have more confidence as long as Mike Williams doesn't play. I have more confidence in Josh Palmer than a Katerius Tony or maybe even a Alan Lazard if MBS comes back, and honestly, even more than Isaiah Mckenzie at this point, just because there's a lot of potential that for that Bills game. So Josh Palmer, definitely one of the higher waiver wire list guys for me at the wide receiver position, but it is one of the more risky ones because it's all depending on if Mike Williams comes back or not. All right, moving over to the quarterback list here. Quarterbacks. If you need a quarterback, the man on the I'll start with him, even though he's number 2 on this list. The man on this thumbnail, Trey Lance. Trey Lance is going to potentially get a monster opportunity, as we talked about, with Jimmy G dealing with the thumb injury on his throwing finger. Don't expect Jimmy G to play this week. I think he'll be out a few weeks. I think Trey Lance is going to come in. He has a great matchup against Houston, who have been a number 1 matchup for quarterbacks over the last few weeks. So you like his spot. You like the fact that he has that running upside. You would expect that from this offense moving into this weekend against Houston. They might test him with some throws. Fields, that is. They might, try to get him some workflow in there, try to get him comfortable with making some throws against a secondary that is susceptible. But I highly, highly think that a lot of Lance's production will come from his legs, which makes him a very nice play because he has a very safe floor, in my opinion, and his upside is definitely there. Along with that, another rookie quarterback that we have talked about earlier in the season, and it's come to fruition, Justin Fields, Chicago Bears quarterback, roster on 40% of sleeper leagues. Justin Fields did miss Week 16 with an injury, but he should be back in the starting lineup in Week 17 for the Chicago Bears. They will be going up against the New York Giants, who, listen, they've just kind of rolled over the last few weeks. You've seen what Russian quarterbacks have done to this defense. So I do think Justin Fields is a plug-and-play quarterback for you. I think you can trust him as long as he does come back from that COVID list. I do think he could end up winning some people some championships. Fields has finished as a top 12 fantasy quarterback in the past 4 completed games he's played in. So I do think that there's some level of confidence for you to play Justin Fields if you're streaming quarterback this week in the championships. And then last quarterback on this list, Mac Jones, who 3 rookie quarterbacks on this list going into championship week. How wild is that? Who would have thought that was going to be the conversation week 1? Can't believe this season is flown by. But Mac Jones, roster on just 37% of sleeper leagues. Again, might be a scary start. I understand Mac Jones over the last couple of games is averaging just 11.1 fantasy points. But don't be frightened by that. I always say, don't chase points. We'll do the same thing in this scenario. The last 2 games have been bad matchups. This week, though, he gets the juicy matchup of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are the second best matchup according to Pro Football Focus for quarterbacks. So I like me some Mac Jones this week. I think you can trust him in your lineup if you need to stream a quarterback. All right, that's enough for the quarterbacks. I'm going to talk about a couple of tight ends here if you need a tight end streamer for the championship week. And then I'll talk about the defenses, which are probably one of the most important things when you're streaming, especially during these playoff weeks. So I'm going to dive into those in just a second. But first, these tight ends we'll get to. Just 3 of them on here, not a lot. Again, the tight end position, very nasty, a little wonky. And real quick, I want to just say, what's up to everyone again in the chat. We will be getting to I will be getting to those questions in just a second, or going through and talking with Whispernation right after I get through all this. So hang with me. All right, waiver wire ads for the tight end position: Mo Alley-Cox for Indianapolis Colts, Gerald Everett for Seattle, and Cole Kmet for Chicago. All 3 of these guys under 36% rostered. First guy on here is Mo Alley-Cox. Look, Jack Doyle, he exited Saturday's game against Arizona with an ankle injury and knee injury. So that puts his week 17 availability in complete flex. And as a result, that's why Big Mo, comes in on this list, because in relief of Jack Doyle being absent against the Arizona Cardinals, Mo Alley-Cox ran a route on 76% of Carson Wentz dropbacks. That is a great amount of participation for a tight end. You didn't see a whole lot, right, from him, but that's because Arizona is very good about and very stout when guarding the tight end position. He has a better matchup this week, a much better matchup this week against Las Vegas, who, oh, by the way, just happens to be the number 1 team for tight ends this week. So that's why Mo Alley-Cox comes in at number 1 on this list for me, because he has just the juiciest matchup. And you know, we know Carson Wentz will target the tight end. We know Colts will target the tight end position, and then the juicy matchup. So exo facto, connect the dotso for Mo Alley-Cox. Pick him up. You won't, and you can play him. All right, second on this list, like we talked about, Gerald Everett, Seattle Seahawks, roster on 25% of sleeper leagues. The Seattle Seahawks tight end is on this week's lineup or pickup because of the plus matchup he has in week 17 against the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Kitties. Everett is coming off another solid week in week 16. He's been pretty solid over the last few weeks, coming on stronger towards this end of the season with DK and Lockett just, you know, having disappearing acts basically throughout games, or that could be Russell Wilson deciding not to throw to him. Either way, Everett catching 4 or 5 targets this past weekend, 68 yards and a touchdown. He also ran a route on 77% of Russell Wilson's dropbacks, which you like. That's a season, which is a high-end usage that you like to see from a tight end that you can plug and play. You could do a whole lot worse. Remember, we like to target tight ends that they might have a good chance of scoring. How do we dictate that, whether or not that they could score? Well, you look at the matchup. That's why we like Mo Alley. That's why we like Gerald Everett. Last on this list for the tight end position for streamers this week would be none other than Cole Kmet, Chicago Bears tight end, 36% rostered. Cole Kmet ran a route on 84% of the dropbacks for this past Sunday. Now, I know it was Nick Foles and not Justin Fields. However, Justin Fields has also been targeting Cole Kmet. He's been getting more involved as the Bears, you know, phase out Jimmy Graham more and more. Although, tap on the kudos for myself. Your boy said that, you know, it was like someone asked me Kmet for this past weekend. I told him, I was like, hey, Kmet is running. Like the stats are showing that Kmet on paper should be a solid start. But I was like, this is just what the Bears do. They'll put in Jimmy Graham and he'll end up getting like this weird touchdown that you would hope would go to Kmet and it would go to Jimmy, and then you'd be frustrated. And sure enough, what happened? Jimmy Graham scores a touchdown. Cole Kmet has a decent game receiving, as you can see, 49 receiving yards. Pretty solid floor for a tight end. Again, Kmet was targeted in the end zone, So you do like the fact that he is getting targeted. And again, you just got to hope that Jimmy Graham doesn't come in and take that away. Vulture that touchdown. Never fun when your tight ends get vultured. Not a fun thing at all. I'll tell you what is fun, though. Moving on to the kick or the defenses here, because that's where a lot of seasons will be won. A lot of games will be won because of defenses. We've seen comebacks like crazy, especially over the last 2 nights with Whispernation, with Miami's defense, with Dallas Cowboys defense. Two of which defenses were on last week's waiver wire show. So you pick them up, most likely you're in the championship right now. So that's what the difference is on picking up and why defenses are so important, especially in the fantasy football playoffs. And even if you already have one of these defenses and you're going to play them, but one of these other defenses available, you pick them up. You drop somebody. I don't care who you drop, because you want to keep your opponent from picking up one of these guys, because defenses are a difference maker in fantasy championships. So coming in on this list, number 1 defense, Carolina Panthers, roster on 49%, just makes the cut here. Carolina Panthers have a great matchup. Well, they didn't have a great matchup last week because they were against Tampa Bay, which is why they're a little bit more readily available. But the Panthers have allowed the second fewest passing yards per game through 15 weeks. They're real-life top 10 defense, and they have a great matchup against New Orleans in Week 17. We have no idea who the quarterback is going to be there. Could be Ian Book again. He's probably hoping it's not, but if it is, you saw what happened. So Carolina, good play this weekend. Saints ranked 6th in fantasy points per game allowed to opposing defenses in their last 4 games. So go pick Carolina. Or if you already have one of these other defenses, make sure you're picking up Carolina so your opponent doesn't play them, because that could counterbalance your great defensive play. Next up on this list, Chicago Bears defense, roster on 45% of sleeper leagues. Not been a great defensive stream at all points throughout the year, but the Bears enter Week 16 leading the NFL in sack percentages, and they're 3rd in generating sacks for on the season for all teams. They should be able to have their way against a bottom 5 graded Giants pass blocking unit that could start Jake Fromm again. Maybe Mike Glennon comes back, but even then, you still like it. Revenge game, Mike Glennon? No. Bears, solid defense to stream this week. 3rd on this list, New England Patriots. Again, we tried to make the cutoff 50%. But New England, I just want to throw them out there, even though they're roster on 66% of sleeper leagues, because I want you to just check to see if they are available in your line or in your league. Because if they are playing this week, or if they are available in your league, pick them up and play them, because they get the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Can't get much juicier than that. Cleveland Browns, 42% rostered. They come in on this list. No quarterback no quarterback has more turnover-worthy plays since Week 11 than your boy Ben Roethlisberger over there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So getting an advantage, getting Cleveland Browns, who is a division opponent, knows this team very well, knows Big Ben. This is the type of offense that's struggling, that you can use Cleveland Brown, who they could get after the quarterback. They can create turnovers. They can take advantage of that. So I do think Cleveland Browns are another defense that you can go look to this weekend in a pretty solid matchup. And then last on this list, I brought them up before. They've been one of my favorite defenses throughout the whole entire playoffs, but I just threw them on here. Philadelphia Eagles, 49% rostered in sleeper leagues. I think they're another great matchup for this weekend. They get Washington. We already know how we saw Washington on Sunday night. We know how bad that offense is. We'll see what, Gibson could be out of this game. They could be shorthanded. They are already a solid matchup to go up against when you're, defenses. You target Washington. So Philadelphia Eagles, another team, but they were mega play this past weekend. So I don't know necessarily if Philadelphia will be available in your league, or if you maybe already picked them up. It's a confidence boost to play him. You won't. You won't. All right, Whisper Nation, that is it for the waiver wire show. I gave you all of my favorite pickups for this week at the running back position, tight end position, wide receiver, and quarterback. If you have any questions on any of those, you're wondering who you should pick up, who you should drop, get in that Discord. What are you doing? Link is in the description below to our Discord channel. Whisper Nation is just popping off in there, even though, like Ronald said, I'm sad that the season is ending. Me too, but doesn't mean we're going anywhere. Stick around, hang out with us. We'll be talking fantasy football all year round. It doesn't stop. We're talking draft, mock drafts, having guests on. We're going to be doing a lot of things. So even though the season and the actual games are coming to an end, doesn't mean that we are. Doesn't mean we're going to stop putting out content. So make sure you're sticking around. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe. Boom. Hit that subscribe. You won't. More thumbs up if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 50 likes. Let me know what's good. All right. Whisper Nation, get into your comments now. Get into your comments. All right. Show tonight. Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. FYI, guys, Wentz is on COVID list. Yes, thank you. Show tonight, this news just came out. They are, right before I actually went live, I meant to put it in the show notes, so I appreciate you, Stro tonight, coming in. They are saying that, I'm going to pull up that little news blurb real quick. They're saying that Sam Ehlinger is the Colts' backup and is now in line to start Sunday versus the Raiders. And so I know, sorry, it's getting a little wonky. I know that the question is, all right, well, what does this do for Mo Alley? Do I have more concern about or am I more concerned about Mo Alley now or have less confidence? I don't. I mean, obviously they're probably going to run even more. You can run against Vegas. So Jonathan Taylor already was going to be a start. But I do think that if there's any position that actually is a safety blanket or you feel confident when a backup quarterback comes in, that would be the tight end position. So I'm still good with Mo Alley. Do it 420 saying, what's up, guys? What's up, 420? Show tonight. Thanks for the advice on Keenan Allen. Benched him last week and it helped big time. Appreciate that. That was a decision that didn't feel great about, but appreciate you, Show tonight, coming in. Let me know. Listen, I get a lot wrong, so it's nice when people come in and are like, hey, you got this one right. We're human here. We're human. If I'm not mistaken, Mike Williams is openly unvaxxed, so I don't think you would bet. Yeah, I agree. So that's why I do think Josh Palmer is one of my favorite pickups, low-key, this week. Mills, Ronald, saying he would throw in Mills into this list. He's a decent play, especially in a 2-quarterback league. We know he throws, and game script in general goes, in his favor as far as them needing to throw from behind. He's a solid producer. He's not fantastic. I don't know how much of an upswing you're going to get, but again, dire needs at this time. You can throw him in there. I really need return of Waller and Mitchell this week. Fingers crossed. Yes, so do we, because we got a signed jersey giveaway this next week for Elijah Mitchell, and I really hope he can be back in time to play and hopefully win some championships, because that would make me feel good when we're giving that away. But yeah, so many ifs. I know. I hate, if you know me, Whisper Nation, many of you do. I don't like dealing with ifs. I like saying ifs when it's talking about certain stories and like conspiracy theories. I like saying ifs, but not when it comes to giving fantasy advice. I don't like the ifs and if that case scenario. But again, we talk about it. I want to let you guys know, give you guys a different perspective on what I'm thinking, so you guys can start getting your mindset thinking that way as well for the future. All right. Do it 420. You said, and also, if CEH could sit that one out, it would be greatly help. Yes, that would be great, Darrell, and that would be a good come up too. Honestly, that could be the nice pivot there for Mitchell for you. Do it 420. If Mitchell can't go, but CH is looking like he's going to be out. So Darrell could be a nice plug and play there. Again, he has been a solid RB2 when CH has been out of games. He has the RB1, not overall RB1 upside, but he has RB1 upside without CH in the lineup. So I do like that. We'll see if hopefully Waller will be back. I would love to see that one. Would love to see Waller get back in this game. Ronald, one game left, and that's the season. Well, for the fantasy football season, but as you know, we stream games. We go live for the games. So we come hang out with us, Whispernation. We live stream the games. We chat it up. We call the game. We talk to you, hang out with you, chat it up with people in the industry. We'll have some more guests on. That's the hope. Trying to get some of those lined up for you so we get really good content coming out. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe and that like. And then, that's all the comments. If you guys have any more, okay, I see. Yeah, they said CH will miss a game. Yeah, one game, nothing broke. Yeah, it was better news than they had expected with the collarbone. They're just expecting one game, but we'll see with that swelling, and then depending on that next week's matchup on what, the outcomes could be or the potential swings. I mean, they could keep him out until the playoffs, their playoffs happen. So it will be interesting with CEH moving forward. All right. That does it for today's show. Waiver Wire Tuesday. This is the last one of the season. Can't believe it. It has been an amazing season so far. Week 17 has been an amazing season so far. It's been an amazing season in general. It's been fun hanging out with you guys, hopping on these waiver wire shows. Appreciate you all. Handcuffs, says Ronald. Absolutely. Get your handcuffs. And once again, when you're talking about players to drop, listen, if they're dart throws, upside plays, I'm dropping them for blocking people. Like, I would rather drop and pick up 4 defenses so that way my opponent can't play any of those defenses over having wide receiver 4 upside stashes at this point. Like, it doesn't matter. And another tactic that you could use, a little side strategy, wait till Friday night, pick up some tonight and then see what's going on, and then use those pickups or those drops, because you have 48 hours, sometimes 24 hours. Just know your league rules. And then if you drop a player, and then you could lock them up so that no one can pick them up, and then you're kind of locking up 2 players in that essence over just one. So that's another strategy move that you could do as far as preventing your opponent from picking up players this week. So hope that helps. Hope we helped you this year, Whisper Nation. Once again, if you want to get in on this Elijah Mitchell, which we were going to give away, the signed, autographed Elijah Mitchell jersey, Color Rush. It's awesome. I don't want to give it away, but I have to. Does not come in the shadow box, just the jersey. But if you want that, you could do so by joining our Patreon page at the $10 level. There's not, you have a good opportunity to get this. There's not a ton of people in that tier as of right now. We got a good amount with Whispernation. We appreciate you all for helping keep the lights on, helping keep this channel going, helping us continue to strive to put out better content, more content for you, Whispernation, to get you the championship, make you feel part of a community that is awesome, because we're all here to have fun. That's what we're here. All right. I am going to... appreciate it. 420 coming here. Can I say, out of all the other fantasy football podcasts out there, you guys are the only one that acknowledges each and every individual in the chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. We try to do that. Thank you. Appreciate Do It 420. I want to say thank you for that. We want to build our channel that way. We want to build the community of fantasy football and hang out with you guys. Like, we're all in this together, man. All right. So I appreciate it. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Once again, if you like any of what I just said, hit that subscribe if you haven't yet. And then join our Discord. Let us know. We'll hit you up in the Discord. All right. For Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm the Fantasy Whisperer, or I'm with the Fantasy Whisperers. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. All of you, Whisper Nation. Love you guys. Good luck tonight on waivers. Let me know who you get. And we'll see you next time right here on the Fantasy Whisperers. Peace.
Right here.
Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're still not sold on us, check out one of these videos.